Hi guys. I know you've been seeing the tweets that I've been sharing on Facebook. Wanted to let you know that the Education Declaration is out. I'm going to read it to you. It was originally in another language, but it's been translated into English, and I'm going to flip around and let you see it, okay? All right, you should be able to see. And if not, then what I'll do is I'll make sure I put the link up. But I'm going to read it to you. And it says G20 Education Ministers Declaration 2018. Now, one of the pictures that I shared showed that this was such a roaring success as far as this G20 meeting that they're going to have others. I think there's one in Japan, I think it's 2019, and then I believe Saudi Arabia is in 2020. And it says, like I said, G20 Education Ministers Declaration 2018, Building Consensus for Fair and Sustainable Development, Unleashing People's Potential. The preamble. We, the ministers of education of the G20 members and invited countries, met in Mendoza, Argentina on the 5th of September 2018 to affirm the unique role of education as a key driver for sustainable development for all nations, recognize the need to place education at the center of the global agenda, and call for collective action. Now, while this is in English, this is in, I believe it is British English because center is spelled C-E-N-T-R-E as opposed to the way we spell it here in America. So it's not really a big deal. I just thought I would throw that out there, okay? So that was the first thing. So they're saying, we met and we're going to use sustainable development. We're going to put it at the center and we're going to use collective action. Now, this is the second thing. In line with the United Nations 2030 Agenda, we affirm our commitment to ensuring an inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, I'm going to read that again. In line with the United Nations 2030 Agenda, we affirm our commitment to ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, lifelong learning is a UN created buzz phrase that doesn't mean you're going to be so encouraged by learning that you want to just never stop. What it means is that you will always be on like a hamster wheel and you'll never really be through with your training because you'll always have to be at school or work. That's the second thing. Number 3, globalization, technology, process, and digitalization are shaping the way people live, work, socialize, share knowledge, and participate in increasingly complex, dynamic, and diverse societies throughout the world. We recognize that while today's changing environment creates a wide range of social, economic, and environmental global challenges, these trends also offer opportunities for wider access to information, economic growth, poverty reduction, greater innovation, higher productivity, and a better quality of life for all. So we're going to ramp up the data mining is what we're going to do. Number 4, in light of these challenges and opportunities, education represents a strategic policy area that has a profound impact on people, the planet, and the prosperity of the nations. Education is the foundation of personal development as it provides children, youth, and adults with the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes necessary to reach their full potential. Education helps to reduce poverty, promote active citizenship, therefore contributing to peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous societies across the world. We stress that access to quality education is a human right and the basis for the realization of other rights. The transformative power and cross-cutting nature of education makes it an essential tool to address our global challenges and contribute to the G20's pursuit of dialogue, consensus, cooperation, collaboration, and coordinated policy goals and responses. And then in big letters behind that one, there's the word agreed. All right, and number 6, in Hamburg in 2017, the G20 leaders recognized the need to educate and train people with the necessary skills for the future of work, the importance of opportunities to and upskill throughout their working lives. That's where that lifelong learning comes in, and assist them successfully to adapt to change. We appreciate and strongly support the Argentine presidency's inclusion of education as a priority in the G20 agenda. We congratulate the presidency for the establishment of the Education Working Group and are pleased to celebrate this first G20 education ministerial meeting. Number 8, considering the importance and increasing intersection between education and employment policies consistent with a lifelong learning approach, we welcome the presidency's proposal to jointly address the future of work as a shared priority to achieve fair and sustainable development. We recognize the complementary between this declaration and the G20 Education, Labor, and Employment Ministers' Joint Declaration of 2018. So there you have it. You've got Ed and Labor hooking up together in Argentina, and it's proposed here in America as well. So I would not be surprised, warriors, that when Davos gets back, that there's probably some more movement towards making that happen here. Those were the first 8 parts of the preamble, and then it goes into another section, and it says education and skills policies. And it goes on with number 9. It is important that education keeps pace with societal and technology innovations such as artificial intelligence, big data, and the Internet of Things. Well, now, if you've not seen Alison McDowell's, and I think I said Alison's name right, if you haven't seen her blockchain video, it talks about the AI, the big data, and the Internet of Things. We recognize that changes in the economy and labor markets have profound implications for education and training systems, even though many of them remain unpredictable. So acknowledging the autonomy and diversity of national, regional, and local governments and context, emerging knowledge and 21st century skills should be considered in curriculum development and pedagogical approaches at all levels of education. The curricula should be highly responsive to evidence-based practices, future employment trends, and designed in collaboration with the key stakeholders. We highlight the vital role that teachers play in education. So teachers, along with education leaders and other education staff, should be supportive through innovative policies, including up-to-date initial and continuous professional development that encompasses digital literacy and ICT skills, as well as opportunities to engage in professional learning communities and collaborative peer networks. Teachers should be equipped with the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes that are free from gender stereotypes needed to help everyone develop to their full potential. Recruitment processes, working conditions, and career pathways should be designed to attract and retain the most suitable and passionate individuals from a diversity of backgrounds into the teaching profession. With the aim of actively engaging students in their education, we encourage the use of innovative pedagogies, approaches, methods, and tools with appropriate diverse learning environments. Moreover, we highlight the importance of strengthening the interrelationship between education and the life of students by promoting relevant knowledge and skills that takes into account their social context and advances the development of their communities. So we encourage the involvement of families and other members in the community. We acknowledge the importance of promoting multiple and flexible pathways into lifelong education and training that enhance the linkage and transition between all educational levels, from early childhood education and care to primary and secondary education, technical, vocational education and training, as well as higher education and adult learning. Education should address the challenges that students face throughout these transitions with appropriate policy responses, effective planning and management, counseling and guidance, as well as pedagogical practices that integrate and articulate the knowledge and skills required across different stages of education, including formal, informal, and non-formal education. We recognize the value of policies based on evidence and the importance of having robust and comprehensive learning assessment systems and data in order to measure progress and learning outcomes to help ensure quality education for all at all stages of life. More broadly, assessment systems should provide quality input for decision making at every level, highlighting the importance of interpretation and responsible use of the results. We also acknowledge the important role of existing international assessments and research as tools to promote cooperation, as well as the exchange of knowledge and promising practices with countries that have demonstrated successful educational outcomes and skills development policies. So there you have that. That tells you the assessments will continue, even those international ones. And let's remember, this is not just for public school kids. These assessments are given at all stages. I've seen the adult international competency-based assessments, so we know that it's going to be, everybody's getting tested. All right, the last thing under education and jobs. And notice it's not talked a whole heck of a lot about jobs so much as it has the data mining and the assessments and that sort of thing. All right, we appreciate that the Argentine presidency has placed gender equality and women's empowerment at the core of its agenda building on earlier G20 commitments. We welcome international efforts in this area, and we recognize that notwithstanding the progress already achieved, gender inequalities and specific barriers to education for girls and women continue to persist. We share the view that equal access to inclusive, equitable, and quality education within safe learning environments at all educational levels is essential to achieving the empowerment of our girls and women. Furthermore, we encourage the high participation of women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, you see that the gender stuff is woven in, so we know that what that's going to bring about. But I want you to notice, anytime that you see the word equitable, that deals with not the equality like it's supposed to point to. Equitable is a financial term. So what this is saying is inclusive, funded, and quality education within safe learning environments. And we know that STEM is directly from the United Nations through the Sustainable Development Goals, and it does not do anything to help our girls be better learners. It really doesn't, because it's tied back to the Common Core. Now, they come to how they're going to finance the education. So remember, we've been over the preamble. We've looked at what they want to do with education and the skill policies. And policies, remember, are interpretation. So we know that that's going to come back and hit us in the face. And this is why the Every Student Succeeds Act was written the way that it was to, promote this sort of thing, especially with the increase in the billions being spent for STEM and gender equality. All right, so financing education. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ways they want to finance, okay? We recognize the implementation of the above-mentioned priorities and policies needs the appropriate funding. Therefore, we acknowledge it is of vital importance that adequate levels of domestic and international investment in education are provided to achieve inclusive, equitable, and quality education, as well as lifelong learning opportunities for all. Given that increased investments in education above certain thresholds do not necessarily entail better outcomes, and outcomes is another buzzword. Outcomes means outcome. When you hear outcome in education, it is not a result. It is a mandate. This is a government assigned mandate that all children should be educated. So that's pretty much what outcomes is. So I'll start that sentence over. Given that increased investments in education above certain thresholds do not necessarily entail better outcomes, we recognize the importance of allocating and spending resources more effectively and efficiently. So by strengthening governance, management, and monitoring and accountability, these should address this shared challenge. Increasing the social and economic returns on investments can have significantly positive impact on human development and encourage greater commitments in this area. We're already seeing that some of the groups are pushing our Congress men and women, especially in the House, to make a supposed one-time $30,000 investment in students so that they can get a better return on that investment by the time they're through with school and work training. Domestic and international education funding should prioritize resources in ways that improve the quality of learning outcomes and increase equity, inclusion, and support to vulnerable, disadvantaged, and underrepresented groups. And this is where everybody outside of public education will be factored in because they're supposedly underrepresented, or they'll even be classified as disadvantaged. Furthermore, we affirm the importance of investing in high-quality early education and acknowledge its positive multiplier effect on both the lifespan of the individual and social and economic development. We acknowledge the role of existing and potential international mechanisms for financing education and encourage their complementary to address the different national needs, avoid fragmentation, and keep transaction costs low. The joint work encourages spaces for increased dialogue between different agents in this international architecture for financing education, including the private sector, social partners, and civil society. Furthermore, we commend the endeavor of creating conditions for the emergence of innovative instruments for financing education in line with the 2030 agenda. All right, international cooperation. There are three parts to this. We commit to strengthening international cooperation and addressing common challenges together by learning from each other's experiences, sharing knowledge and best practices, developing joint initiatives at bilateral, regional, multilateral levels while acknowledging individual countries' unique challenges and priorities. We encourage the sharing of policies and programs for skills development through a digital repository of policies. This is a platform developed by the Digital Economy Task Force. We commit to facilitating the internationalism of education, including the cross-border recognition of qualifications and skills and the mobility of students, teachers, academic and non-academic staff, trainers, and researchers with a view to improving quality education and research, and in accordance with the respective national laws, rules, and policies. We support the promotion of exchange and scholarship programs among G20 members and other countries, in particular with the developing countries from around the world. Understanding and appreciating other parts of the world, different religions, cultures, languages, and points of view are essential elements of global and cultural competence. Thus, we will continue to encourage high-quality online communication, virtual exchanges, twinning, and networking, as well as sharing our common values among our education institutions. All right, the way forward. We will work to meet our commitments affirmed in this declaration, and taking into account national circumstances, we endorse the policy recommendations for educations and skills called Annex 1, and will be seen in Annex number 1, with a view of building a robust set of education and skills policies from a global perspective that fosters inclusive and sustainable human progress in every nation. We thank the Argentine presidency for its determined efforts and leadership. We also are thankful for the expertise provided by the international organizations, including UNESCO, OECD, the World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank for the support given during this process. including their reports on key issues. We submit this declaration to the G20 Leaders Summit 2018 and continue our cooperation towards Japan's G20 presidency in 2019 and the years after that. And then Annex 1 gives you the policy options for education and skills. Let's see here, curriculum very quickly, relevant, high quality, strong focus on discipline, multidiscipline knowledge, core competency skills, learning by doing, and values and attitudes. Promote STEM through comprehensive and gender and age sensitive approaches that reflect their cross-cutting nature and relevant to real-world application. Foster integration of digital literacy, information and communication technology, computing, coding. Let's see. Foster the inclusion of non-cognitive skills such as socio-emotional skills all across the curriculum. Create learning standards coupled with measures that will support students with lower achievement levels and progress. Provide education that supports better integration of common values, freedom, tolerance, empathy, non-discrimination, human rights, and a culture of peace and nonviolence and sustainable development throughout the curriculum. Let's see, development and use of open learning materials, including textbooks that facilitate improved access to learning and quality education, integrate leadership, management, and entrepreneurial skills across the curriculum, and of course, foreign languages. Teacher training. Invest in teacher training through initial professional preparation, continual professional development, satisfying working conditions that will improve their quality, attractiveness, and status for the teaching profession. Provide multiple diverse and attractive career paths that also take into account the teacher's experiences. Theoretical training with practical teaching, training in didactics and pedagogies to guarantee that teachers are equipped. Let's see here. Engage teachers and educational institutions that will create learning environments that will actively engage students through personalized learning. Let's see. Promote opportunities for teachers to become self-directed continual learners while under formative supervision. Engage with their school community, foster dialogue between government stakeholders and professional associations. Let's see here. And learning strategies, interdisciplinary learning and opportunity for work-integrated learning experiences will actively foster a culture that nurtures design, thinking, and creativity. Promote teaching flexibility within classrooms and all educational spaces, whether it's physical or virtual. Introduce and maintain appropriate technological infrastructures at schools in urban and non-urban areas. Also with the suitable learning strategies, especially for digital learning. Strengthening the use of digital and e-learning technologies to close the digital gender divide. When appropriate, update all content and teaching methods through evidence-based research and assessment practices. Now, it gets into a section here where they're going to transition education. So this might be something we really, really want to pay attention to. Support students' transitions throughout educational stages with informative and well-targeted counseling and guidance, especially for those from underprivileged backgrounds. Establish comprehensive qualification frameworks that support a better understanding of knowledge and skills acquired by students at every level of their education. Take into account the social and economic context of all learners and their families to address critical issues and improve education. Involve the parents in basic education through participation in school activities that will foster their contribution to their skills, their child's skills development. make a more harmonious learning environment, and smooth the transitions between educational pathways. Work with relevant stakeholders to generate information that will foster better informed and guided decisions on educational choices and the pathways for students. Promote education with strong connections to industry, the working community, and other stakeholders to facilitate transitioning from education to work. Encourage cooperations with ministries of labor and employment to generate comprehensive skill policies that will prepare citizens for future market needs. Support relevant second chance education pathways, including the recognition of informal education. Gender, expand opportunities for girls to access a minimum of 12 years of quality education. Enable girls to access all levels of education, including through targeted plans that ensure barriers, especially those faced by adolescent girls. Adopt measures to prevent all forms of violence, harassment, and discrimination on the basis of any kind of diversity. Adopt measures to fight stereotypes in education and society. Encourage women to pursue and continue studies for qualified work placements through apprenticeships, scholarships, particularly for advanced technologies and anything that's driving the digital transformation, such as STEM. Provide support to teenage parents in order to encourage their continuation of secondary schooling or workforce-based learning. All right, vulnerable groups. Let's see. We have strengthen inclusive education systems between relevant national and international civil society partners. Cooperation between schools, communities, NGOs when developing educational policies. Foundational skills, numeracy, literacy, especially for those in the skills gap, because this will help them achieve social mobility. Remove barriers for vulnerable groups, including those with special needs and disabilities, as well as adults in need of training and retraining, by designing flexible and specific learning pathways for differentiated learning strategies, and so on. Okay, expand high-quality online learning for those underrepresented groups, and to improve rural and remote education. All right, create and adjust infrastructure to meet the needs of all students, especially those with disabilities. Work with learning assessment systems, that will focus on progress in expanding opportunities for education. Again, how to finance all that follows that. Then there's the international cooperation, and that pretty much closes out the declaration. Now, I do believe, from what I understood, that this particular meeting will wrap up tomorrow. So I don't know if there will be any other declarations, but if there are, I'll keep an eye out on it. I am going to be doing an interview with Mark Hoffman on Patriot Nation Radio tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about this and possibly what DeVos will be doing when she comes back to make sure that all this gets carried out. But that is the absolute latest declaration. And so we see where this is going. Thanks, guys.